purposeful parents, and elite educators. I am so excited to talk to you today about how to work with emerging bilinguals. I call them emerging bilinguals because to me, that is more affirming than calling them English learners. So, today is all about working with our emerging bilinguals. So, if you are struggling with how to work with emerging bilinguals, or you want to get more tips in how to work with emerging bilinguals, then stay tuned. So, I am Kimberly Deneen with Education Noire, where we provide you with the best tips and tools to level up your practice for student growth and achievement. And if that sounds good to you, please consider subscribing to this channel and definitely liking this video so that it can get to more viewers. First of all, while working with emerging bilinguals, one of the main things you want to do is build up their background knowledge. That is extremely important for them as they grapple with content and as they are going through their other courses such as science, social studies, math, all of these things definitely will help them when you build up their background knowledge. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that you are giving them academic vocabulary on a regular basis. So in a few minutes, you're going to actually see me teach a level 1 and 2 class on animals. And when I say level 1 or 2, I'm speaking on the WIDA access test levels. And if you want to know more about the WIDA access test and how they level learners and what learners can do at these different levels, you definitely can Google WIDA access, and you can also go to that website and find out more about the levels and what students can do at each level. But just quick and dirty, level 1 means that they are brand new to the language and they can generally give you maybe 1 or 2 word answers and responses. Level 2 can start working on some more sentences and things like that. So at this particular school, I worked with all of the 6th graders. I had a lot of students on my caseload. It was over 100 students on my caseload. However, the level 1s and 2s, and I want to say it was 2.5 and under, those students actually, I followed them throughout their day, but they also had me as for an English as a second language class. And so that this group that you're about to see, they're all level 1s and 2s. Some of those students are actually newcomers. Newcomers are emerging bilinguals who just arrived to the country. So they generally go through what we call a silent period, where they're just trying to get comfortable and they're taking in a lot of the information and the language. And then after the silent period, they're more willing to talk. So the main thing that you want to do though is build up their background knowledge and build up their academic vocabulary. And the third thing that you want to do is always use visuals. Lots of visuals. And you're not going to be able to see the visual that I'm using that well on camera because the person who filmed me teaching that day was sitting back a ways, and it's going to be hard for you to see, but you'll definitely be able to hear and experience how you can also work with emerging bilinguals build up their vocabulary bank, and build up their knowledge, their background knowledge. So I will see you in a few minutes after you view me working with my emerging bilinguals. How are you today? How are you? I'm fine, thank you. All right, who can tell me what today is? What day is it?
Today is Wednesday.
What day? Just what day?
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. What's today's date?
July 12th. 290. 2019.
What? Today is what? Say it again, no way.
June 12th, 2019.
Good. And also, I gave you another way to say 2019. 2019. Is it even or odd day?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're still in what season?
Spring.
It's still spring. And how's it feeling outside today?
Hot. A little bit cold.
It's not as hot as yesterday or the day
Really
before,
hot.
right? But it's warm outside. Okay? So today I want you to go ahead and complete your snapshot. Your snapshot says name 3 characteristics that make up an animal. Remember the last time we were together and we watched that video? And the guy talked about 3 things that are all animals either have or do. Okay? Remember those 3 things? Write them down. 3 things that make up an animal. So they all have blank. They all blank. What's going on over here? I don't know. Turn it off. Turn it off. Put it on silent. Well, you weren't. But 3 things. If they don't have one of them, they die. If they can't do one of those things, they will die. Okay? All right. That could be it, but one is even more important than that. So, 1 more minute, guys. That is true, but are all animals? Okay, so this is for all animals. 3 things, 3 characteristics that make up an animal. Okay, so let's go over them because we watched that video of the guy who talks about 3 things. All right, so can you give me 1 thing that's characteristic, Junior? Water. Now, wasn't one of them, but they need water to live, right? Nubia? It deals with that. They what? All animals what? Move. There we go. All animals move. What else? In order to move, they all have what? No way. Okay. They have legs. Okay, and what else? In order to live, if they stop doing that, they are goners right away. They stop doing one thing. What is that? What are you doing right now and you don't even think about it? You just do it because you have to. What? Yes. So they breathe. Okay? So these are the characteristics of animals. Okay? Yes, but these are the most important characteristics that we use to define. Not all animals sleep. Sharks don't sleep. Okay, but these 3 things are important. So fish, their fins are called their legs. Their fins are like their legs. They help them move, right? They can push themselves up with their fins. So we say that those are their legs. All right, you guys got that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so today, what are we doing? Who can read our objective? Who can read our objective? This lady? They breathe, they have legs, they move. So would a tree be an animal? No. It can't move out of its spot, right? It moves in different ways, but it can't move out of its spot. So it's not an animal. It breathes though. It does take in oxygen. It lets out oxygen. So, and then what characteristics make up an animal? All right, so those are questions that we want to be thinking about. All right, so we already went over that, and I will know I am successful when I can complete our content vocabulary handout and answer the questions with 80%. Okay, you guys got that? Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead into clickers. And let me grab my phone. So we're getting ready to do this one right here. All right, so you guys have your clickers cards. All right, so the question says, the first question says, animals that have thick scales on the outside are A, birds, B, amphibians, C, reptiles, or D, mammals. I can't answer that now, but let's see how you do now, and at the end we'll see, okay? So you guys ready? Hold up your answers. Did I get everybody?
No.
What, miss? All right, did everybody answer?
No.
Who's missing?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. All right. I don't want to show the answers yet. So let's not reveal the answer. Let's go on to the next one. I might have. So I wanted to use technology in a meaningful way, not just for the sake of using technology. So we use plickers. They just held a card. The card actually kind of works like a QR code with my phone. It's called plickers. And, with plickers, you can add your own questions. I have the free version, so I can only do 5 at a time. But I wanted to use that as a pre-test to see how much they knew. And I noticed a lot of the students had no more than 2 right. And so at the end of the lesson, which you won't see because I only captured part of this lesson, but at the end of the lesson, I did the same questions again using clickers. And of course, the students showed growth based on the lesson and the information that they learned that day. Also, one other thing that you definitely want to incorporate, if you can, for every lesson is allowing them to work in pairs or as a group. My students actually travel together to every class except for their elective classes. So it's actually more beneficial when you have a more diverse class where they actually can be paired with native English speakers in groups or work as pairs to do pair work. This is extremely beneficial for emerging bilinguals. So whenever you can incorporate that, do that as much as possible. With them collaborating with native English speakers, it really, really benefits their language acquisition, it benefits their understanding of the content, and of course, making new relationships always is it's always healthier, a healthier environment for them to work in when they actually get to know their peers. So incorporate pair work wherever possible. So while you guys are working, I'm gonna go in and I'll have you write down how you did on this, okay? All right, so we're gonna go ahead to the next phase and learn. Cause some of the words I saw that you guys were asking, like, what's that? I'm not sure what that is. So we're gonna go over them now. So take one and pass it over, please. You guys are probably gonna be leaving a little bit early, but you're gonna leave soon.
You keep 4 minutes.
Okay, so extra, I'll get it in a minute, okay? I'll get it in a minute. Okay. All right, so you guys, so go ahead and make sure your names are on this. Okay, so it says, this is our content vocabulary sheet we were talking about in the objective. Write an example for each word. Write a sentence for each word. However, you might not know what all these words mean, right? So let's make sure you understand what the words mean before we begin this. So we already said all animals can have, they all what? They all breathe. They all move. I heard somebody say that. And what was the third thing? They all breathe, they all move, and they all have
Legs.
okay. So we're gonna just put that there as our reminder. Okay. So we're gonna talk first about invertebrates. Let me hear you say invertebrate. Okay, invertebrates are animals that don't have a backbone, right? So that's what we're going to put. Animals that don't have a backbone. Animals that don't have a backbone. No, put it where I put it, because you're going to do your own examples in a minute of that, okay? All right, so an example that I am giving you is a starfish. Do you know what a starfish looks like?
Yes.
Everybody? Is there anybody who does not know what a starfish looks like? It looks like a star. Yes. Okay? And guess what? I found how to say it in Spanish. You know already? How do you say it in Spanish? Not starfish, invertebrate. Yes, that's exact. Say it again, Jessie. Say it again. Invertebrado. Yes, I found it. Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next one. The next one is vertebrates. Okay. Write my example now, and then you're going to work it as a pair to come up with two more. Okay. Vertebrates are what, this lady? The ones that have a backbone. Good. So we're going to say animals that have a backbone. So are we animals? Are we vertebrates?
Yes.
We are considered mammals, and we'll talk about that people have a backbone. So we are vertebrates, right? And the example that I use for that is a giraffe. Does everybody know what they look like? Yes? Okay. All right, how do we say vertebrates in Spanish? Vertebrado, right? So, en vertebrado and then vertebrado. It's the same. Vertebrate. But except for there's no T. There's no T in it. Okay? Alright, you guys, the next one we're going to do is mammals. Do you guys know about mammals already? Can you tell me something? What do you know about mammals? Can you name me a characteristic of a mammal? No? Okay. So first of all, they are warm-blooded. That's first. They are vertebrates. So they all have backbones, right? And they either have hair or fur.
Please pardon the interruption. Karan Roseman, report to the main office immediately. Karan Roseman, please report to the main office.
And this is the most important part, so I want you to underline this part. And they produce, another word for produce is make, right? So they produce or make milk to feed their young. Yeah, the baby. Okay, that's one of the most important parts. And they have live, I'm just going to put that separate. Live babies. They don't lay eggs. Okay, they have live babies. Did you say it, Junior? Okay, so they have live babies. So can you guys think of an example? I gave you the first two. A lion. A lion is an example. So I put rabbits on my sheet, but I'm going to put your example. So lions are examples of mammals. Good. How do you say it in Spanish? You know it? No, mammals. How do you say mammals? Mamífero. Yeah. Am I saying it wrong? Of course, probably. Okay. All right. So the next one is amphibians. Let me hear you say this word. Amphibians. Amphibians. Good. Make sure that B goes amphibians. Okay? So amphibians are opposite. So if they're not warm-blooded, they're what? What's the opposite? What's the opposite of warm?
Cold.
So they are cold-blooded animals, right? Cold-blooded. And they are vertebrates. Now this part is tricky. So they breathe through gills when they're young, babies. But when they become adults, they no longer have the gills. They breathe through their lungs. Can you think of an animal like that? So when they're babies, they breathe through gills. Gills are the things on the side of the fish that go like that help them breathe. Okay? But when they're babies, they breathe through the gills. When they're adults, they breathe with lungs. What's that? Can you think of an animal like that? example, because I'm not sure that you know. So a frog, frogs are examples of amphibians, because when they're born, they're eggs, then they become tadpoles. Remember, they live in the water the whole time while they're tadpoles, right? Then they grow legs, and then they come out of the water. Right? Okay. So frogs are amphibians. All right, and you guys, do you have all that, or you need a little more time? Okay. We're getting ready to go down there now. The awards ceremony. Okay. All right. So the last one is reptiles. Let me hear you say reptiles. It's similar to Spanish, right? It's a cognate. Yes. Let me hear you say it again. Yeah. Okay. So reptiles. They are also cold-blooded. When we say that they're cold-blooded, that means that they have to get their heat from the sun.
Yes.
Their body doesn't produce its own heat. It needs heat from other sources. Okay? So they're cold-blooded vertebrates, which means they have a backbone, yes? Yeah. With dry, scaly skin. Okay? That is the big deal about reptiles. Their skin is scaly, it's dry. Can you think of an animal like that? Besides a snake. I heard somebody say snake earlier.
Me?
Give me an animal like that, you know. A specific animal. Can you think of one?
Shark?
A what? An insect? An insect is an invertebrate. That falls over here. They don't have backbones. Okay, so I'll give you one. I like turtles, so I chose turtles. Turtles. Okay. Okay, so this is what we're getting ready to do now. You guys are going to work as pairs to come up with 2 more examples of each of our categories. Okay? And then after you finish, you're going to work together to write 1 sentence for, yeah, you can, but you only have to have 2 for each of our these definitions. Okay? So I'm going to do the first one with you. Okay? Let's do mammals. Okay? So an example for the sentence, mammals feed their babies with milk from the mother. Okay? So there's an example for you. Alright, so you guys are going to work as pairs now to complete the rest of the handout. But turtle, well, but do they live on land? They stay on water, right? They can come out, but I think you guys might need your phone. If you need to use your phone to look up some more animals, then you can do that because I feel like you need your phone to think of some more. Are you guys working together? So I hope that this has helped you if you've been struggling with working with your emerging bilinguals. I have worked with some veteran teachers who have said, frankly, that working with the emerging bilinguals makes me feel like I've never taught a day in my life. So, I mean, it's not going anywhere. In fact, according to PBS, studies show that by year 2030, that the U.S. will be majority Latinx. The country is becoming more and more brown. So it is definitely advantageous for you, if you're an educator, to put some tools in your toolbox on how to work with our emerging bilinguals. I am happy to help you as I am an educational consultant and coach. I'd love to work with you. If you are interested in working with me, you can definitely reach out to me and on this platform for YouTube. You can also reach me at KD Inspirations with an S. KD stands for Kimberly Deneen, inspirations.com. I'd love to work with you. I've worked with countless educators in this area, in other areas like global education, literacy education, and as well as English as a second language. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, continue to level up your practice for student growth and achievement. See you soon.